Hope you're doing well today. Jim Lair joining you live from Darioma, Nicaragua. Let us get going here on Instagram. And here we are live on Instagram. So hope you're doing well. I have been insanely busy. I am coaching a baseball team in Messiah, a pro baseball team, and I'm also going to be doing a children's program for them. So I've been working a lot of long hours outside in the heat, as you can see by my skin, and so that's taken up a ton of my time. I'm having a blast, but it's probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done in my career. One, because I don't speak the language well, so I'm having to demonstrate everything myself, and it's just a lot. I'm exposing them to a lot of things that they haven't been exposed to before. So it's a very interesting challenge, but I'm really enjoying it. So it's pretty much a full-time deal, and I haven't worked this hard since I was a GA at the University of Arizona, like back in 1999. So it's definitely a very interesting challenge. But on to the topic at hand. I've seen this a million times before. And I've experienced this myself. Like, you're eating decent, you're training hard, and you're not getting the results that you want. You're tired, you're exhausted. A lot of times maybe you're gaining weight, or you're not getting strong, or you run into a health challenge and you're like, I'm not that unhealthy. I don't really know what's going on. And everybody in the social media space, everyone's like, well, we got to exercise, we got to strength train, we got to do all these things, but they don't talk about, there's only a few people talking about this. One, Paul Chek has been banging the drum on this forever. Joel Jamieson has been banging the drum on this for a very long time. Paul Chek and Joel Jamieson were really the ones I kind of learned this from my own personal experience, getting ulcerative colitis and just destroying my health. Dr. Kirk Parsley talks about this now. And basically our modern life has created this, like, just a stress monster. Like, I've used the analogy of getting in your car, starting it up and revving the living hell out of it and never driving anywhere. And that's modern life, between the indoor artificial light environment, which, disrupts circadian rhythm, spikes cortisol, the constant scrolling on the phones, the constant notifications, the bills, the go, the high stress. Like, we're designed to basically get chased by a bear, either get eaten or get away. And that might happen once every 3 months or something, like chronic stress, fight or flight, like run from a bear type stress. That isn't designed to be an everyday thing. And our modern life has pretty much created this, like, constant low level to moderate chronic stress. And people just don't know how to shut it off. And so what happens is you end up sleep deprived. You end up turning into a human vacuum cleaner. You can't shut your appetite off. And so you just keep eating and eating and eating, and you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and you can't stop. And the way to beat this is pretty simple. Get off your phone, get the lights off at night, get outside a couple times a day, put the tongue in the roof of your mouth, and slow your breathing down, become present. That's a couple decent strategies. I use non-sleep deep rest a lot. Huberman has a great non-sleep deep rest video that's like 10 minutes long. I get people to do. But once people get stuck in this loop of, like, they're constantly having to stimulate themselves through, like, dopamine, caffeine, videos, screen time. A lot of people will get caught up in doing exercise classes because that's the only way they feel good. And then they get done with the class and they're just completely destroyed. And really the most important thing, I think, because our modern world is so chronically low level to medium level stress, we just never relax. We're never bored. We're never calm. We're never quiet. I think the learning how to relax is the most important. Learning how to stop and chill is more important than pushing yourself in the beginning. And so, Paul Chek talks about this. In order to work out, you first got to work in. And so teaching people how to relax, and Joel Jamieson has talked about this constantly, it's just as important, maybe not even more important than exercise, because our entire existence, our indoor lifestyle is basically creating this chronic stress that's constant. And so just getting outside 3 times a day for 10 minutes can help you relax, become more present, and turn off. And the idea isn't to become like this Buddhist monk sitting on a hill where you don't do anything. The idea is to relax and calm down, turn on the rest and digest so you can have better hormones, you can get muscle repair, you can get sleep, you can get your better self in a better place. So when you push, you really push, right? You really get after it and then you rest. So I'd start with 3 10-minute walks a day, and it's, leave your phone behind. You're not listening to an audiobook. You need some silence. You need to read a book. You need to do some things where you're shutting your mind off and you're not like constantly engaging in content. I struggle with that. I struggle with scrolling on my phone. So you need those like 3 10-minute walks. Start making time for like a 10-minute non-sleep deep rest. But the walks, I find, if most people get outside, they put the tongue in the roof of their mouth and they walk and they just relax and they observe, what's going, the birds, they listen to all this sort of thing. Um, that usually does the trick. That literally just getting out in nature kind of calms the stress management thing. And then getting into like phone notifications and like being careful you don't get stuck doom scrolling. And then, making time to relax and taking time to get outside. Like these things are all a priority because if you're constantly rolling all the time, if you're constantly chronically stressed, and you're having to take pre-workout and you're having to take, all these supplements to prop you up, and then you just keep adding intense exercise on top of that, you're just going to get yourself in trouble. I mean, that's how I ended up with ulcerative colitis. Was I just kept driving and driving with less sleep and not enough sleep and more stimulants. And then one day I woke up and it wasn't very pretty. I'll tell you that. And it took me a long time to learn how to relax and calm down. A lot of people today, because they're so used to being in this stress state, like literally it's uncomfortable for them to relax. I've had several clients that I've worked with. They're like, I just feel so like I feel so weird. It's like, like literally when I first got colitis, it took me like, I'd say a good, maybe 6 to 8 months to sit still quietly because I used to like bounce my foot up and down and it's just like ooh all the time. And it literally took me, I think, 4 to 6 months for me to like be able to calm down and relax. And then I use the float tank as well. Binaural beats, that's another great tool you can use to just put your headphones on, sit, calm down, breathe. Blowing up a balloon is a really good way because when you're in this chronic stress state, you get into this over breathing state. Yeah, a lot of times you have a hard time exhaling and relaxing. So blowing up a balloon is a really good way to pull you out of this loop. So there's just a few tips to kind of get you going in the right direction, but just like going out and sitting quietly for 5 or 10 minutes outside and listening to the birds and setting yourself into nature is going to make a big difference. And just doing this stuff consistently and fixing that circadian rhythm, that is going to get you going in the right direction. You get that sleep in order, you calm yourself down, you start using walking to build aerobic capacity, and then you start lifting some weights in a reasonable way. And you don't need to do any crazy hit in the beginning. If you do hit, it needs to be short and sweet and to the point. And then you just build this base foundation on basically, good circadian rhythm, getting more natural light, making sure that you're calm and relaxed, you have a good base level of fitness, and then you add intensity on and you sprinkle it in. And you'll be shocked that if you build that base level of fitness on what I call the 5 fundamentals, walk outside 3 times a day, get a protein in every meal, get the lights off at night, drink high quality water, preferably spring water, and have a social connection. If you have that as your foundation, and then you put like moderate exercise on top of that, and then you throw some intensity in there, you're going to be in a good place. And if your sleep is in order and you're managing your stress, it's going to be a lot easier for you to like not overeat. I think that's one of the reasons we have like a GLP, like people are like just reaching for the GLPs because of the chronic stress, because of the sleep disruption, the broken circadian rhythm. They're having to go to the GLPs to like override their brokenness. And the GLPs are a tool, but I would encourage you, if you're going to do them, one thing you want to do is make sure you microdose them. You don't take them in a big bolus. And 2, you rebuild your habits. right? You want to use the GLP to help you adhere to your habits, and part of that is fixing your circadian rhythm. If you do a GLP and you don't fix your circadian rhythm and you don't get outside more and you don't build habits, one, you're going to have to be on it forever. And two, you're going to have to keep upping the dose and upping the dose and upping the dose. And eventually, any drug or anything, supplement, whatever, once it loses its therapeutic runway, then you're just back to square one, right? And the higher the dose, the higher the side effects with that stuff. So I've seen it, I've heard people, I've listened, some of my friends are, use a lot of these things as tools, and the microdosing and using it to help promote habit change really is pretty powerful. If, particularly if you have addictive personalities and things like that, it really helps with adherence. But you've got to fix your habits, because if you don't fix your habits, you're just going to end up worse off in the future. So there's a few thoughts for you, but you got to work in so you can work out. And most people today are just chronically sleep deprived, chronically stressed. They are just completely smoked as far as hormones and just how they're feeling. And then they're trying to use exercise or whatever else, supplements, peptides, whatever, to fix the issue. When the issue is they need to learn how to relax, and they need to learn how to get into rest and digest, and they need to learn how to chill. And then once they're in a better place and they built some capacity, then they can push, and then you'll actually have positive adaptation to your stress that you're putting on the body, essentially. So there's a few thoughts for you. I know I kind of bounced around a little bit, but love to have you in the Vitality Brotherhood, Vitality Sisterhood. It's a group, both groups that I have. You can go to either one of those places. The show is sponsored by Pharaoh. You can find a link for that. It's basically a lard-based skin product that people in my groups are raving about. Just does some really cool stuff for your skin. And it doesn't have all the nasty chemicals. It's super hydrating. I've used it on my feet, used it on my face. I love it. It's one of the few things I actually get shipped into Nicaragua from the United States. So have yourself a great day. I'd love to see you in one of the groups. And let me know what you think. Do you think that I'm overreacting? Do you think that chronic stress is not a problem in today's world, and you just need to exercise more? There's more gyms today than ever before, so you might want to think about that answer before you answer. So have a great day. We'll see you again soon.